Good morning. This morning's sunrise story is The Burden. Kimba could not remember when he had first acquired the long stick that he carried with him all the time. He only knew that he could not remember a time without the stick grasped tightly in his left hand. Some in the village thought that the stick had been given to Kimba by a very old woman who passed through the village when Kimba was still a small boy. Others seemed to remember that Kimba brought the stick home from a hunting trip he had gone on with his uncle. And still others believed that Kimba had been born carrying that stick. It was his constant companion. Over the years, Kimba had become remarkably adept at doing all kinds of things without ever putting his stick down. He could hunt and fish, work the fields with the other men in the village, and he was able to eat and bathe and dress himself with only a minimum of awkwardness. Kimba could even dance and parade at the tribal celebrations. Kimba was so good at accommodating to the presence of his stick that many people even forgot that he carried the stick with him all the time. One day, a young woman from another village came to the market where Kimba was selling the corn from his farm. The two talked and laughed and spent the afternoon becoming best friends. After several hours, the young woman asked Kimba about his stick. "Why do you carry that stick with you all the time?" "I have always had this stick," replied Kimba. He was puzzled by her question because he could not remember the last time that anyone had asked him about his stick. Everyone just assumed that when they saw Kimba, they would see his stick. Someone even joked that he should change his name to Man with Stick. "You have not answered my question," challenged the young woman. "It is not enough to say that you have always had your stick. Think of all the things that you could do without your silly stick. You could run and dance and hunt with a bow and arrow." I can do all those things right now, if you please," shouted Kimba, growing angry at the young woman's impertinence. "Well, I know one thing you cannot do if you hold on to that stick. You cannot have me for a friend. I will not spend my time with a man who holds tightly to a stick." And with that declaration, she walked away. Kimba was hurt and confused and very sad. He liked the young woman a great deal and had even thought that one day he might ask her to be his wife. But most of all, Kimba did not understand. No one else had ever questioned his stick. Kimba himself had almost ceased to notice the large stick that he carried everywhere. Slowly, however, things began to change. Now, Kimba was aware of his stick all the time. And when he tried to run in the fields, he felt the weight of his stick slowing him down. When he went walking in the woods, he felt the awkwardness of always having to twist and turn so that his stick would not slam into one of the trees. When he danced, He noticed that he could not approach his partner as the other dancers did because his stick was in the way. Now, when he gazed at his reflection in the lake, he no longer saw Kimba, the brave young man. He only saw the stick. So huge and imposing that it all but obscured his own reflection. Kimba became determined that he must get rid of the stick. But how? He had never been without his stick, and on his own, he could not devise a plan for how to be rid of it. Something so important would require the counsel of the wisest person in the land. So, Kimba set out to see the old woman who lives in the hills and ask her advice. He traveled for many days and nights, winding ever higher into the mountains surrounding his village. Now, when he met other creatures along the way, he introduced himself by apologizing for the presence of his stick. "Hello, squirrel. My name is Kimba. Please excuse my stick. I am searching for a way to be rid of it." The creatures of the forest just gazed at Kimba as he passed. They had seen many strange things over the years and had learned to look the other way. After many months of climbing and searching, Kimba finally reached the hut of the wise woman he sought. "Great Mother," he cried, "please help me with my burden. For as long as I can remember, I have carried this stick with me. I've learned to adjust my life so that there's always room for my stick. But I've grown weary of carrying it with me all the time. I now wish to lay my burden down, but I do not have a plan for how to accomplish so big a task." "Well, you have come to the right place," whispered the old woman in a voice that was as old as time itself. "The solution to your problem is quite simple. Do you see that pile of sticks over there? Just walk over to the pile and lay your stick down." "What?" cried the young man. "There must be more to it than that. I have come all this way. Please do not play tricks on me, old woman. Tell me what I must do." The woman could see the young man's distress, and she repeated her words slowly and with great calm. "You have only to lay your stick down to be free of your burden. The words are quite simple, but the action will take great courage and determination." The young man walked slowly to the tall pile of sticks. Many looked just like the stick he had been carrying. Others were bigger. A few were quite small. The young man trembled as he approached the pile, but his mind was made up. Slowly, cautiously, he opened the fingers of his hand and let his stick fall to the ground. He turned and faced the old woman. "Just like that?" he said. "Just like that," she replied. He nodded to her as he turned and walked down the mountain. the additional reading. We all learn to accommodate the burdens that life experience has placed on us. We bend with the weight of loss and abuse and disappointment. We are often quite adept at constructing a life around some debilitating symptom or some great internal pain. After a while, we may become so good at adapting that we too forget that we are carrying something that it greatly limits our choices and opportunities. When we finally become aware of the limitations imposed by years of unhappiness and distress, we may believe that the road to recovery is too steep to climb. We may even believe that it will be almost impossible to be free of our burdens. But, like the young man in the story, we may find that all it takes is the courage and the will to lay the burden down. Some changes require years to effect, and some require merely placing our stick upon the pile and walking away. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a story from the 24 Carat Buddha by Maxine Harris, with the publisher of the Sidran Institute Press from Baltimore, Maryland. I really appreciate you.